It's a me, Chris Pratt. Alright, so today's video, well, the red's kind of balancing here, that's nice. Alright, so today's video involves me talking about a specific type of Goosebumps book. Alright, so today is a book called, here, let me jump cut. And of course this is the recording I chose to do. Hopefully the audio's not bad, but now you have 3 of me. Someone mastered his Naruto references. Yeah, no, so today's video is on why am I afraid of bees, and it doesn't ever tell. I know everyone's common criticism of this one, it's like, oh, it never tells you why he's afraid of bees, it just tells you how he gets over his fear of bees. Right, so now how I do these things is I have a... Right. Now before this video, I have a sponsor today. This video is sponsored by Coke. From the fields of Colombia to your left or right nostril, Coke will make you go zoom like no other. Coke, try it, stupid. Obviously that's a joke. I feel that goes without saying, but I don't want YouTube to get mad at me. I'm just a baby YouTuber, so. Alright. So, Gary, this one's going to be a little harder to, kind of summarize, just because of, we'll get to that. Obviously, the book usually starts, and in this book, it starts with Gary Lutz, his name, reading comic books in his backyard. Now, for someone who's afraid of bees during summer, why would you do that? I don't know. Kind of sucks. Especially when he has a beekeeper neighbor. It's like, dude, seems like a dumb place to read. Maybe just read out on your front porch, not right next to his fucking bee cage. And I guess, so Gary is, Gary likes comic books and he doesn't like bees. Bees does main his personality. He doesn't like bees. He's weak. Mr. Andretti is his neighbor, aforementioned beekeeper too, and not considering the implications of beekeeping, Gary decides he really just doesn't like it, doesn't like bees, but is yet fascinated by them, which is odd, right? Kind of reminds me of some people I know. Well, they're not afraid. They listen. It's reminiscent of people I know. And he spies on Mr. Andretti like any normal kid would. That's what people do here. And yeah, this is just notes. I got tired of writing Mr. Andretti all the time. Right. But Mr. Andretti, then Mr. Andretti just, pulls an epic prank on fucking Gary by, acting like the bees are out of control. Which, narratively, it's like, Mr. Andretti says he always has control over his bees. And then, he spooks Gary by saying, like, oh, maybe he doesn't. And covers himself in bees, like the one dude from Ben 10. And then Barry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, obviously that's the joke of the thumbnail, is Barry B. Benson. Gary, it's like, fuck this, I don't like my neighbor picking on me even though I'm spying on him. And then goes out for a ride on his bike. Normal thing, I like to do that sometimes. When I'm, I'm gonna have to, I don't know, when I'm just, stressed. Apparently, he never had have the driver safety episode from SpongeBob, because this guy then slams into a light bulb and breaks his bike. Light pole and breaks his bike. But Gary's not out of the woods yet, because in comes new challengers, in the form of 3 bullies. Their names aren't important, just think of them as generic Goosebump bullies. I was going to find some sort of name for that, but I'm just... Now, that's usually why I don't kind of I'm going to try not to name them that much, unless they have, like, a particular trait. or a scene where their name or identity comes into very very big importance. But these guys don't. The Goosebumps villains are a dime a dozen, or the Goosebumps bullies are a dime a dozen, and with whether generic beefcakes or small gaslighting motherfuckers like what's his name, Kermit. Yeah, Kermit. If Lutz was a box of cake mix, he just became pound cake, and because he got beat up, and he limps home and tries to clean himself up without his mom seeing him. This is because mom. Yeah, it's like, yeah, what a very real thing. And he's like, yeah, I don't want my mom to see this because she'll just blow the whistle on them and it'll get me beat up more. It's like, if a kid's bullying you, just tell them to stop. Tell the teacher. They'll do something about it. Oops. Suffice to say, Lutz is tired of being Lutz. And you might be understanding where this is starting to go now. He would do anything to get away from his life. While playing a game that's where he also sucks, Gary finds an ad for something called person-to-person vacations. And as anyone who ever browses the internet, random ads on random websites is probably not something you want to click on. And this is like on a message board for the game, because this is the 90s. And like an idiot, he goes to the address of a weird ad on the internet. What he finds is a place much like a dentist's office. And goes in, and the lady is behind a fucking glass. Kind of like, it's like, yeah, you can't actually talk to her, or you can't actually be, look. She's like behind glass. You can't even interact with her besides through like a speaker and shit. And her name is Miss Carmen. And he looks through the albums of Kids Against Witch, and he doesn't end up doing it, but submits his story for the wrong show. He has a picture taken for the album and fills out his likes and dislikes. He waits a few days for a phone call, and the lady, Miss Carmen, I'm sorry, I already said her name. I don't always go. The script is just for me to explain, not really for me to follow religiously. And you guys, he sets up like a home appointment, which also seems weird. It's like, why are you inviting a strange lady to your house? I know Miss Carmen isn't off-putting in description, but it's a little weird. The kid he's switching is a much cooler dude with a cooler name called Dirk Davis. Dirk wants Gary to take some tests for him. So the weird thing about this is like, oh, do they store consciousness? What's going on there? Because Miss Carmen comes over to Gary's house, hooks him up to the machine, and just as the machine starts up, a bee flies onto Gary, and the machine does the transfer. Gary then wakes up as a bee, much to his dismay. He tries to tell Miss Carmen what happens, but since he's a bee, she cannot hear him, and doesn't know it's him, and also almost runs him over with her car. This is like, kind of like the Bee Movie, funnily enough. It's so fun. It's fun in a schlocky way. Not reading it, though. He then flies around and gets captured by Mr. Andretti, and then gets shoved into a beehive. That sounds awful. He finds he's so hungry he needs to eat honey, but listen, I'm not an expert on bees, so I don't know what this sort of shit's going on. I just know, something later on about compound eyes. Now the bees start to make him, angry that he's not doing the quota, so the bees chase him around the hive. Finally, he gets out and goes outside, and almost gets murked by his sister. Now, the thing is, he keeps trying to talk to people, and this makes me think, for the most of the book, I just thought he was talking normally, along his bee tonsils, so he can only talk in bee. Apparently, that's not the case. But nonetheless, his sister can't hear him, so she tries to kill him. And he manages to make his way to the office space. Now, I don't know much about Combine Oz, or how much, we don't really know how, but like, bees can recognize faces, and, wasps can do. So I might give this comment a little slack, but how does he know to get with the bee vision? He knows how to get there with human vision, but the thing is, although bees can recognize faces, they're not that good. They're not like camera eye lenses. This high clarity kind of stuff. Bees don't have that. It's rather unfocused, although it gave them an edge where a lot of other animals, at the time of compound eyes, didn't have. And I feel a bit nitpicky about it, but it's like, I don't know. Then he gets into the office space and tells Miss Carmen, and finds that Miss Carmen's still there. Apparently some girl was walking out, and it's towards the end of the workday. Now, this is what I'm saying, like, apparently he's been speaking human the whole time. Granted, I'll give that a pass in, like, D&D. We had a whole conversation about that one time in my D&D group. And one of my, terrible DMs, tries, where, like, one of them was a druid and it was a horse. It was speaking human. It was a whole thing. But I feel like that's a little explainable due to magic. Like, oh, you just magically understand them, I guess. I probably should have said that. Right? In any case, this isn't magical. This is all, science fiction. So why does Gary speak human with bee vocal cords? I don't know, Arlstein. It would have been more implicative to be like, oh, he sits on a photo of him. It's Gary. That's why I feel like, it's kind of weird to just write it. It should have been third person. A lot of the books should really... This one should have been the one in third person. Which, but, that doesn't make for good, jump scares or, fake outs, so. Alright. Now, Miss Carmen kind of, tells, Miss Carmen's like, oh yeah, Dirk won't give up your body. He kind of likes it. Which is weird because, Gary never liked it, but in a weirdly touching moment, Gary is like, I'll get to that touching moment about, one of the interactions, but Gary, Gary's like, I'm frustrated, I can't get what I want, it's so hopeless. And Miss Carmen's like, apparently hates her job because instead of helping Gary, she gets flustered that she can't help him, and then just leaves the office, forgetting that he's even in there, and leaves for the weekend because it's Friday apparently. Yeah, she doesn't. I don't even think she comes back for the rest of the story. I know I wrote that she didn't, but I don't even remember, man. This even was a few days after finishing the book. All right. Then Gary makes his way over to Dirk's house and just sees. I don't think I wrote it the right way. He just sees a dumb kid. He sees a bee in a boy's body. That's it. Sorry. So he just sees that. The bee seems to understand maybe, because it doesn't understand bee body language that Barry presents, but it's just weird. I don't know why he was here. Other than pan out the book, it's like, oh yeah, there was another character, the bee. Now, next sequence up is the bullies. The bullies versus Dick Gary. The bullies versus Dirk Gary. That's so bad. Alright. Yeah, I labeled it Dirk Gary because it's weird to say it's Dirk, but in Gary's body. I feel like that's okay. A little bit confusing. Dirk Gary starts beating up the bullies in Gary's body, which means either Gary hasn't tried hard enough to fight the bullies and it's psychosomatic, or somehow Dirk shouldn't be able to beat up the bullies because Gary's body is weak. So, like, that's a little inconsistent. Though I'll touch on, why that might be a little more ambiguous of a trait later on. Either way, Gary fucks with the bully. Gary fucks with the bully by just, flying in one of their ears, which is, no, I'm good. Rather not have bugs there. Then, Gary makes his way to his house and confronts Dirk Gary through about the whole body snatching thing. Now, apparently, this is where it also gets a little confusing, because it's said that Dirk can, now in Gary's body, can understand insects, and says, oh, maybe that's why I can understand what Gary's saying. But it's not implied that because it gets a little confusing, because like, oh, is he understanding Gary B, or is he just understanding the volume of a bee just because he understands Gary now? It's weird. The whole thing's weird. Okay, and confronts Dirk Gary about the whole body snatching thing. This angers Gary and goes to rally up a beehive. He goes to Mr. Andretti's beehive and goes in, stirs up a whole lot of trouble, and then comes back with all these bees and gets them to sting the hell out of. Yeah, it's like he literally goes all World War II Japan and it's like, hey, die for me. Oh shit. Now, interesting analogy on my part. And then he's like, and Dirk will still not give up the body. So he's like, well, Gary stings him. And now Gary's like, oh, I'm fading in out of like, my mind. Light has stopped refracting, whatever. And he feels like he dies, I think. But the epilogue tells that he didn't survive. He wakes up, he didn't die. He wakes up on the floor where Dirk was with a bunch of bee stings, which also is like, hope he's not fucking allergic. Or, at least this is how he found out. Then he would be dead. But like, the epilogue tells us that, yeah, Dirk was sorry he did that. He also failed his summer. Oh yeah, those tests, this is all during summer. He failed summer school tests, so he has to do it again. Gary learned how to skate because Dirk knew how to, and Dirk did it in his body. So he and Dirk, now he and Dirk are friends, and he's no longer afraid of bees. And then he puckers his lips to drink pollen out of the flower. Now that we've got that done, this one's fucking weird. First off, why is there a body switching service in a residential area? Second off, why are they letting kids do this without a consent form, or an adult to sign said consent form? Third, why didn't they just put Gary in Dirk's body and switch the bees back at once Mrs. Carmen knew there was a problem? It's like, yeah, why don't, if you could literally go into Gary's house, like, the problem seems very solvable, I guess. It's like, I don't know, have Miss Carmen stalk the house for a little while or something, or just set up surveillance to know. It's a little ethically wrong, but like, granted, what Dirk's doing is very ethically wrong. Plus, it's her problem. She's the one who facilitated this problem. Now, there are a bunch of plot holes. Yeah. At least the concept is terrifying, right? So you have like an irrational fear of bears, snakes, worms, bees. And then imagine being turned into one against your will. And then live the rest of your life with the fact that you might only have a few months, that being in the case of bee. Sounds awful. Also, I found myself thinking about how this book would go if he actually got Dirk's body. And I had to play an IRL game of Among Us, debating the ethics of body switching without the knowledge of your family the whole fucking time. There's also this thought about like, how about you like reverse it on Dirk's perspective? It kind of also sounds like Goosebumps book. Hey, we switched bodies, and now I'm in the one of a bee, and I'm coming to get you. So, yeah. Or I had this idea about, one where, say Gary, is then put in the body of a bee. Well, now he slowly regresses into a bee. Thought-wise, psychology, he just becomes dumber and dumber until he's a bee. Not that these are necessarily, very fucking stupid, but he just mentally regresses into that insect mind. And, then you say the bee in Dirk's body slowly progresses into a human mind with, some traits they had as bee. All in all, I just think that the book was kind of lackluster in plotline. And, I don't know, I feel like if he wrote it for like a teen audience, it would have been a lot better. Because you could do a lot more darker things with it. Alright, that is my kind of summary and analysis of the Why I'm Afraid of Bees book. Now, I hope you have a very spooky night, and don't forget to check out my other videos on Goosebumps or the other videos I have, like memes, writing videos, and so forth. Have a good one.